All right, this is another in a series of videos for the Data Boxing board game. I plan on this being a relatively short video, but every time I say that, it somehow ends up being a half hour anyway. But I'm also trying something new by doing this video with the camera being handheld. I think it just works out better for what I want to show. So hopefully that'll also give me incentive to keep the video short, because my hand will probably get tired of holding this thing. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today was a discussion of the scoring for the last fight that we had between Ezzard Charles and Sonny Liston, and also wanted to give a sneak preview of the next fight that's coming up, which will be Dereck Chisora versus Smokin' Joe Frazier. So that's in the next round of my tournament with the random draws. But first, the scoring from this. So I'm using normal scoring, which means that there are a referee and two judges. And I have them indicated on the sheets here with the referee here, or sometimes you can call him Judge 1. This is Judge 2. This is Judge 3. Same across the top. Referee, Judge 2, Judge 3. And how they score in normal data boxing scoring, which is the system that Dr. Compton came up with, is that the referee and Judge 2 score on a 7-point basis. So if a fighter wins a round by 7 points, 0 to 7 points, it's a 10-9 score. If they win by 7.5 to 14, it's a 10-8 score, and 14.5 above would be a 10-7 score. Judge 3 is a little more score happy. He's on a 5-point basis. So if a fighter wins by 5.5, up to 5 points, it's 10-9. If they win by 5.5 to 10, it's 10-8. And if they can get 10.5 or more lead, he'll score at 10-7. So in this first round, this is 1.5. Oh, and the other thing to remember is the referee will always give the boxer with the better boxer rating a half point for each round. In this case, Charles has a better boxer rating than Liston. Liston has an F boxer rating, which is like, the worst in the game. I guess maybe there's an F minus, but usually Liston's opponents will get a free half point for every round. So in this first round, it's 1.5 to 0 for judges 2 and 3, and 1.5 to a half for the referee. In any case, it falls between 0 and 7, so it's a 10-9 round on all three cards. For round 2, Liston scored 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9 points to minus 1/2 point here. The referee will wipe out this half point, but even with that, it's still 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 point lead. So this is for all three. The referee and the two judges will be a 10-8 round for Liston. This round here was 2, 4, 6, 6.5, 7 points, and a minus half. These minus halves that Ezzard Charles, that's because he was clinching in these rounds to not get knocked down or knocked out by Liston. So he used this clinch strategy, which lost him half a point in each of these rounds. So 2, 4, 6, 7, and minus 1/2. So that's a 7.5 margin. This judge here will see it as 10-8, and so will Judge 2. But because the referee gives a half a point to Charles with the better boxer rating, that's only a 7-point difference, so he'll score at 10-9 instead of 10-8. This round here is 1.5 to 0, which is the same as the first round, so it's a 10-9 score across the board. This is 2, 4, 6.5 to 1.5. It's a 5-point margin. That is just barely not enough to get Judge 3 to go 10-8. So because it's only a 5-point margin, it's 10-9 across the board. This is where Ezzard Charles started to make his big comeback in the sixth round. He got a good TKO punch for 5 points. He scored 5 more points, so for 10. Injury 12, 13 points, but he lost a half point for a foul. So he had 12 and a half points against 1 point. So that's a margin of 11 and a half points. That's over 10 and a half. So Judge 3 scored at 10-7, but it wasn't up to 14. So both of these, the referee and Judge 2 scored at 10-8 for Ezzard Charles. In round 7, this was 2, 4, 6, 7 points to 1 point. That's a 6-point margin. That was a 10-9 score for both the referee and Judge 2, but a 10-8 score because it was over 5 for Judge 3. Here it's 2, 3 points to 1.5 points. So a 10-9 score for all 3 cards for Ezzard Charles. Notice here this is 2.5 points versus 2.5 points. So Judge 2 and Judge 3 scored the round even at 10-10, but the half point from the referee made this 3 to 2.5. So the referee awarded the round to Ezzard Charles 10-9. This one, 2, 4.5 points to 1/2 point, 10-9 round. From all 3 cards. This was 2 points to 0 points, 10-9 round for all 3 cards. And then finally, Ezzard Charles tried to make the big comeback at the end. He scored 8 points, minus a half, 7.5 points against 1 point. So that's a 6.5 point margin. So 10-9 for the referee and Judge 2, but a 10-8 for Judge 3. Note that if Charles had managed to get 1 extra half point to give him 7, to cancel out the foul, where he would have it 8-7. Now he needed 1 more point for the referee's half point to tip this to a 10-8 round. So he just missed out there. So I'm going to spare you adding up all these. I did it offline. The final score is a unanimous decision for Sonny Liston. You'll see it's closer than it might have looked given the rounds, but the referee scored at 114-112 Liston. Judge 2, 115-111 for Liston, and Judge 3, 113-110 for Liston. So unanimous decision for Liston. If you have any questions about the normal data boxing scoring, just leave a comment on the video. Next up, we're going to look at the next fight between Dereck Chisora and Smokin' Joe Frazier. I am using an updated card from the spreadsheet I posted on Board Game Geek and uploaded to Facebook. This is an updated card by S. Reese. Posted this in the Delphi Forums Board Game Geek, the Delphi Forums data boxing forum. He updated a lot of the fighters for August and September 21, including Chisora. So I'm using the updated card that he provided. And slight differences from the one in the Excel spreadsheet, but not a lot. I just wanted to give him a shout out for keeping these fighters current. All right, so what can we tell from looking at these cards? We'll kind of do the scouting report, because you look at these cards, it's interesting to do some analysis that I can't really do in other boxing games like I can this one. So the first thing to notice is that Chisora has a TKO rating of 33 and Frazier has a TKO rating of 43. We note that on the score sheet here, 43 and 33. That's pretty good. The normal is 30, so both of these guys can take some punishment. Chisora a little more than normal and Frazier quite a bit more than normal. Their TKO resistance, how much points it would take in a single round to TKO them, is half of this. I round down for TKO resistance, so it's would take 16 points in a single round at the beginning of the fight before he takes any damage to TKO him. And Frazier would take half of 43, so it would take 21 points for him. 1/3 of TKO will lower this resistance by 1 every time. It's going to happen at 11, 22, and 33 points scored against. And for Frazier, that would be 1/3 of 43. Round up here, 15, then 29, and then 43 are the numbers that we'd be looking for as Frazier takes damage or Chisora takes damage. The next thing you want to look at that's important is the offensive power ratings. Chisora is a D power against Frazier's defensive power of B. So if we look on this chart here, we can see that an offensive D against the defensive B, Chisora is going to lose 1 point of scoring on dice roll results 14, 16, and 17. Frazier has and I marked that here, -4, 16, and 17, that he loses a point on those. Frazier has a offensive power of B against this defensive power of C. So he'll actually gain an extra point on 16. So what does that look like on their cards? That means for Chisora, this will be injury /1 point. And down here, he's going to lose both these points. So if he rolls a 16 or 17, he's only going to have a chance for the knockdowns. He's not going to score any points on those. If the knockdown fails, he'll get a half a point for a missed power blow. And on Frazier's side, this 3 at 16 is going to become a 4-point punch, along with possible TKO, cut, and injury. What else can we see here? Joe Frazier has the better boxer rating of B versus C for Chisora, so Frazier's going to get a half point from the referee every round. He also has a very special rating here, which is this A for aggressive fighter. He's that aggressive fighting rating will also score him half a point and let him lead every round unless a boxer has aggression rounds rating higher than him. You'll see that Chisora has a +1 for aggression in round 3, which Frazier does not have one for round 3. So in round 3, Chisora is going to lead the round, but in every other round, 1 through 2 and 4 through 12, if it goes that far, Frazier will lead off the round. Frazier has a pace rating of +1. You've seen a pace rating of -1 in previous fights for defensive boxers that try to score and then speed up and get out of the round without much happening. Frazier actually likes to stand and slug it out, so he'll add exchanges to his round to give him extra chances. Unlike the minus rating, which is mandatory, the +1 rating is optional. I think most of the time Frazier is going to want to get an extra exchange against the weaker Chisora, but if he needs to somehow slow the fight down, he'll maybe not use it. He also has a clinch 1 rating, which means he could do a clinch if he got in trouble in a round. I don't see that he might use it, but we'll see. Maybe Chisora will get lucky in some round. Chisora actually has a negative control rating for round 1 and 2, so he will give Frazier a control rating in round 1 and then add 1 to this +2 for round 2 to give him 3, and then Frazier will have +2 controls up through round 8. And again, these control ratings mean that if you roll this diamond, you score half a point and you keep control. If you don't have a control rating, that's just a miss. And you can pick pick up control ratings if you start pummeling your opponent. This reputation on here is just sort of like flavor. Dr. Compton ranked 10 heavyweights when the sets first came out. I've kept it here for historical sake, not because of it has any gameplay meaning, but I guess he thought Frazier was the 8th best heavyweight back in the late 70s. And the last thing to look at is Joe Frazier's power ratings. In round 1, he'll actually give a power rating to Chisora, but in round 4, he picks up 2, and in rounds 5, 6, and 7, he picks up 1. So he will have some power ratings past the first round. He has a special notation here, which only takes place if he's facing a boxer who is N2 weak. That's not Chisora, so we will not have to worry about this at all. But Frazier does have a N2 same round weak. So what does that mean, and how does that come into play? Chisora can only get a chance to knock down Frazier if he rolls a 16 or 17. On the first attempt at the knockdown, 16 or 17, both of these would count as an N1. That would match on Frazier's card with a 13 or 14, meaning he would knock Frazier down. If he rolled an N and then he rolled a 13 or 14 and no knockdowns have taken place, Frazier will get knocked down, and then this N2 same round weak would take place, which means if Chisora could roll knockdown again in this round, I wouldn't even check this card. Frazier would go down again in the same round. However, if he can get out of that round, past the same round week, then any second or further knockdowns that Chisora might attempt, they won't happen on 13. So actually, Frazier, once he gets knocked down once, he gets harder to knock down because he loses this N1, and then only this N will be a knockdown. So he actually becomes harder to knock down. By the way, this 2 here, that's a typo. You don't score points on defense or have points against you on defense. I'll have to correct this card. I just noticed it. So, as we see, Chisora's not going to score a lot of points. This is the 1. These won't even be there. He can score some points on 13 and 14. He can try to get knockdowns on 16 and 17. So he's going to try to use that +1 power in the first round, obviously, against Frazier to try and score one of these power ratings. But he's only going to get 1/6, not 2. So, he could still get anything from a 7 to an 18 with 1, or 7, 8, 9. He'd get 9 to a 16 with 3 dice, with one of them 6. So it's not guaranteed that he'll score points, but he'll try to use it. And Frazier's going to tough it out. I don't think he's going to bother using his clinch in that first round to get past it. I think he'll save it for later. Frazier, on the other hand, has a lot of ratings. Notice he scores at 12, which is kind of rare for a boxer. That's better than being at 13 because 12 is easier to roll. He's very good at injuring the opposing boxer, but Chisora doesn't have too many injury ratings, so I don't think that's going to come into play too much. And so we're going to see how that comes out. So stay tuned for that fight. I think I've covered all the ratings of interest. As I've said before, I don't play with the advanced strategy factors, so these will not come into play in this fight. Obviously, I think Frazier will probably win this fight, but you never know. We'll see. And that's this boxing video, and I kept it under 20 minutes. Excellent. Thanks. Bye.